What's good, Atlanta? This is the Blog and Dirty podcast, where bird is the word if you haven't heard. We're here for a good time, not a long time, so grab a seat, buckle in, and enjoy the flight. I'm your host, John Buhler, staff writer, fansided.com. But before we take off, I'm going to introduce you to an extra special guest on the program, the one and only Iain MacMillan, senior editor, Sports Illustrated, fellow Falcons fan, greatest gambler alive. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing fantastic, John. Thank you for having me. It is exciting that we are 8 sleeps away from the start of the NFL season. I guess a little bit longer than that for the start of the Falcons season, which we're going to dive into here. But I'm extremely excited. It's one of the best times of the year.
I know the weather started to change down here in Atlanta. I feel it's probably getting the same up there in the Northeast where you're at. But yes, we're going to preview the season a little bit, talk a little bit about some of the major signings, quarterbacks, and we're going to remember some Falcons at the end of the show. But we're going to get effing set to start with, and we're going to go around the perimeter, which is, anything to do with the league. That's I-285 here in Atlanta. So we're going to do just a little bit of a preview of the season itself. Let's go through each division, who's our winners, who's making the playoff, Super Bowl, whatnot. Just kind of set a primer for the season. Iain, what division do you want to start with?
I want to start, let's go AFC South, John, is where I want to start, because to me it is one of the more fascinating divisions, a division that a lot of people are handing to the Houston Texans after their strong finish to the year last year, and obviously a great core of young players, a great young head coach. But I think some people are sleeping on some other teams in that division. So let's start with the AFC South.
I really like Houston, but I'm not going to discount Jacksonville. I feel it's kind of a two-team race there. Indianapolis, if Anthony Richardson's as good as we think he could be, that could be wonderful. I think Tennessee is going to be terrible. I think this division has capable of putting 2 in. I'm looking a little bit more probably at Houston. Where are you at with this division?
I do think Houston is still the team to beat. I do think they will win the division, but I think the Jaguars are going to give them a little bit of a scare here. I mean, people forget last year, all they had to do was beat the Titans in week 18. The Jaguars are AFC South champions. They obviously lose that game. Texans go on to beat the Browns in the first round of the playoffs, but now all of a sudden, people have completely, just discounted this Jaguars team, which is still an extremely talented roster. Trevor Lawrence is a guy who has a high ceiling. We need to see that ceiling a little bit more from him. But I'm not ready to just hand the division to the Texans. I do think they win, but I'm going to say both the Texans and the Jaguars get in. I think the Colts are tricky. I mean, Colts, another team, that dropped 4th down pass against the Texans in week 18. That 3rd string running back doesn't drop that 4th down pass. They're in the playoffs. They win the AFC South. And the Texans don't even make it to the playoffs. So, yeah, Colts are tricky. And yeah, Titans are the clear 4th team in that division, but the Titans actually had a pretty solid offseason, sneakily an extremely good offseason. I still think they are the 4th team in the AFC South, but I mean, they have some pieces, specifically on defense. I think they're going to be pretty good getting L'Jarius Sneed. So yeah, I think the Titans might be a little bit better than some people think, but I will say Texans win the division, Jaguars get in on a wild card.
That's kind of where I'm at. I've got Houston as the 2 seed. I've got Jacksonville as the 7, so they'll meet in wild card weekend for a 3rd time. Should be a good time. What division you want to tackle next, Ben?
Let's stick in the AFC. Why don't we go to AFC West? Because in my opinion, that is the easiest division to talk about. I don't think there's too much to say. It is the Chiefs. And if you say anything other than the Chiefs, you're either assuming that Patrick Mahomes is going to suffer a season-ending injury, or you're just coming out with a hot take for the sense of a hot take. I'd be shocked if anyone else can challenge them for the division. I think the Chiefs win the division. They are the best team in the NFL. They're defending back-to-back Super Bowl champions for a reason. I will say, I got to think about the other divisions too, though, because I'm trying to figure out my wild card teams. Am I going to give a spot to the Chargers? I am going to give a spot to the Chargers. I think the Chargers under Jim Harbaugh in his first couple of years as a head coach in the NFL is going to get the most out of his players. I don't know if his coaching style is good for the long term, but I think he's going to get the most out of his team the first at least 2 seasons in Los Angeles. I'll give a wild card spot to the Chargers.
All there with the Chiefs. That's my 1 seed in the AFC. I think that they're so much better than everybody else in that division. I'm always a sucker for the Raiders. I don't know why. Do not like the Broncos, and Jim Harbaugh is a psychopath, for lack of a better word. But I do think that he does get a lot of out of his talent there. Hopefully, he doesn't make Justin Herbert quit football like he did Andrew Luck. But so yeah, just one team. I don't know if I can put two in the wild card, but I think that Chiefs are clearly a top 2 seed probably there in the AFC. You want to keep going the AFC?
Let's keep going the AFC. Let's go AFC North.
AFC North. All right. What am I leaning with this? This was I ended up going with the Bengals winning the division, and I've got the Ravens as like the 5 seed. It's like 1 game difference. Again, I think the division is going to be really strong. Have Cleveland just on the outside looking in, and the Arthur Smith experience is probably going to rear its ugly head there in Pittsburgh. I'm really sorry, Yinzers out there. That could be challenging.
Yeah, we all know how that's going to go in Pittsburgh, us Falcons fans. I like the Ravens to win this division. I actually have them being as the only playoff team from that division. I'm not high on the Bengals whatsoever. I mean, you can point to the Joe Burrow injury last year, but they were 5-5 in Joe Burrow starts last year. So it's not like he got hurt in week 2. He got hurt pretty deep into the season, and they weren't in the playoff spot. They are at 5-5. Their defense has a lot of issues. They slightly improved on the defensive side of things in the offseason. I don't think it was enough. And I'm also not a huge Zach Taylor guy either. So I'm kind of out on the Bengals. I think they narrowly miss a wild card spot. The Browns, to me, are a team that I got to keep my eye on because the Browns defense last year gave up 2.1 fewer yards per play at home than on the road, which to me just doesn't make sense. I don't want to throw out the cheating word right now, but it doesn't make sense to me how a team can give up 3.7 yards per play at home, but then they go on the road and they give up 5.8. 2.1 more yards per play, per snap of the football on the road compared to at home. I don't know what's going on in Cleveland. That doesn't make sense to me. So I'm out on Cleveland. Deshaun Watson's obviously not the guy that he used to be. Nick Chubb's going to miss at least 4 games. I think the Browns missed the playoffs. I got to figure out what's going on with their defense between at home and on the road. So I'm out on Cleveland, and then we know what's going to happen in Pittsburgh with Arthur Smith. That's going to be ugly.
Yeah, that's going to be a bad time there. I think the Browns, that's like the Colorado Rockies of the NFL, apparently, with the home road splits there. Yeah. And let's move on to the AFC East. I'm really high on the Dolphins. That's my pick to win the division.
Me too.
I'm just tired of the Bills. I just win or get off the pot. I'm just done. And then Jets, they kind of go back and forth. They could win 10 games. They could win 7. And then the Patriots are the worst team in football.
Yep. Which is a glorious thing that we get to watch this year, because for 2 decades, I was just hoping and praying for the day that the Patriots would be the worst team in the NFL. And that day has arrived. They're going to suck. Obviously they did last year too, but I won't get sick of the Patriots being terrible. I'm also going to go with the Dolphins. I'm very high on the Dolphins this year. I think they made a lot of really good signings on defense, like Calais Campbell, adding some depth there, Jordan Poyer adding some depth there. So even though their defense is not going to be as good as their offense, I think they made enough moves to take a step forward defensively. And then obviously they have, arguably the most explosive offense in football. So I like the Dolphins. I have them winning the division. I have my wildcard teams right now are the Chargers and the Jaguars. I have the Bills as a wildcard team. I'm out on the Jets. Last time Aaron Rodgers played well was 3 years ago. 2 years ago, he had a bad season in Green Bay. They missed the playoffs. Last year, he got hurt. He's 40 years old. He's not going to be back to MVP form if he can even stay healthy. And to me, that's a big if. I'm out on Rodgers. I'm out on the Jets. I think they're going to have another similar season to what they had last year. So I will take the Dolphins winning the division, the Bills getting in on a wild card.
That's how I'm feeling with the Jets. Outside of Rodgers, how many people on that team since the last time they made the playoffs in 2010 could shave? Like, honestly, it's probably just him. Yeah. So let's kind of recap like our 7 teams in the AFC and who you got, going to the Super Bowl.
So I guess my 7 teams are I guess I didn't really think who my number 1 seed was going to be. My number 1 seed is going to be the Chiefs, as much as I'm sick of the Chiefs. Number 2 seed is going to be the Ravens. Number 3 seed is going to be the Dolphins. Number 4 seed is going to be the Texans. And then the wild card teams are the Chargers, the Bills, and the Jaguars. And I have the Dolphins going to the Super Bowl.
That'd be cool. I mean, they haven't won a playoff game since 2000, but it's never a good time. There's always a good time to win your first one. But I'll give you mine real quick. We got Chiefs 1, Texans 2, Bengals 3, Dolphins 4, Ravens 5, Bills 6, Jaguars 7. And I've got the Chiefs beating the Bengals to go to the Super Bowl. Now we got that out of the way. Let's go to the conference that actually matters. Let's go to the Dolphins. Haven't been to a Super Bowl since Ace Ventura.
Yeah, producer Sean chiming in with has since Ace Ventura. Listen, I think it's a Dolphins year. I do. Like I said, love their moves that they made on defense. They obviously have an explosive offense. Mike McDaniel's only going to get better with more experience. It's a fun pick.
For sure. Oh, for sure. Mike McDaniel is a lot of fun. Easy to root for. Tua seems like a good guy, but I can't believe Dan Marino took money over points with Ace Ventura. He could be making a lot more. That's wild. So yeah, let's move on to the NFC. You want to start with our division?
Yeah, sure.
All right. We're winning the division, bud. I'm pretty excited about that. Yay!
And
NFC.
Usually I say that. And most years, especially the past number of years, I haven't truly believed it when I've said it. This year, I truly believe it. I mean, if we don't win the NFC South, it's a failure of a season.
Probably. I mean, I feel like it's either going to be Atlanta or Tampa. I have them both as wildcard teams. Saints are just delaying an inevitable rebuild. And I really like Dave Canellis as a head coach, but Carolina's got a ways to go. They'll kind of be like the Cardinals were like a year ago, probably win about 4 or 5 games. They're going through it right now, and I wish them the best, except when we play them twice a year.
Falcons win the division. I do think Tampa's number 2. The Saints last year I thought looked like a good team on paper, but I think Dennis Allen is a terrible coach, so I'm kind of out on the Saints too. I don't think there is a wild card team from the NFC South. I don't know if you have the Bucs making it on a wild card. I think the Falcons win the division, and they're the only team from the division, or only team in the playoffs from that division.
I think that's fair. What division do you want to go to next?
Let's go clockwise. Let's go NFC West, which is an interesting division this year. A lot of people I'm seeing are kind of selling their stocks on the 49ers after the Trent Williams issue, the Brandon Ayuk issue. I don't think that's kind of what I'm going to do. I still think the 49ers are the cream of the crop of the NFC. I think they win the NFC West, but also I'm pretty high on the Rams. Obviously extremely talented offensively. I think people are overvaluing a little bit the loss of Aaron Donald. Obviously that sucks. You'd rather have Aaron Donald than not have him. But he wasn't quite the same Aaron Donald last year than prime Aaron Donald. And they did make some other key signings on defense that I think are going to help them, especially in the secondary. So I will take the 49ers to win the division. Sneakily, NFC West might be the most competitive division in terms of the highest floor, because I don't think any team in that division is terrible. AFC North would probably be the other one. NFC North too, to be honest. But I think the Cardinals and Seahawks are scrappy. But I still think it's the 49ers division to lose. I think the Rams get in on a wild card.
I've got the Niners winning the division pretty comfortably. Rams are kind of in the playoff mix. I think losing a lot of their coaching staff to the Falcons pulls back a little bit. I like Jared Verse as a draft pick, as potentially, the next Aaron Donald, but we saw that happen with New York with the next Eli Manning and Daniel Jones, and that didn't work out. Totally agree with you in Seattle and Arizona being scrappy. Very high on Arizona potentially being a sneaky good team this year. As far as Seattle, my fellow dog, UGA alum, Mike McDonald, I think that might take some time to kind of adjust there. But again, when is Seattle ever really bad? Like, even if they stink, they're still going to win like 6-7 games and give it your all. So pretty bullish on what I think that they're capable of. Again, I think we feel pretty good about the top 2 teams there. But again, a pretty good division across the board.
Yeah, so let's move on to the NFC North. I'm not as high on the Lions as some other people are.
Really?
Yeah, I thought their record was a little bit better than it deserved to be last season. One of my favorite stats to look at when evaluating teams is net yards per play, which is the average yards gained per play on offense, subtract the average yards given up per play on defense. Lions were like 11th. Good team, not great team in my opinion. Now their schedule gets tougher playing a first place schedule. I still think the Lions make the playoffs. I'll pencil them in as a wild card, but I think the Packers reclaim the NFC North title. Youngest team in the NFL last year. Usually with young teams, they only get better as the seasons go on. You got to like what you saw from Jordan Love late in the year last year, especially in that playoff win against the Cowboys. So I will take the Packers to win the NFC North, but I do think the Lions get in on a wild card. I think the issue with the Bears Obviously, very talented team, especially offensively. But when you have that many new pieces on a team, it's going to take a little while for them to gel and for them to get used to this offensive system. Because don't forget, it's not just Caleb Williams is new. Caleb Williams, DeAndre Swift was in Philadelphia last year. Keenan Allen, obviously, in Los Angeles last year. Roma Dunze is another rookie. Like, the only returning skill position guy is DJ Moore. So the Bears are going to need some time to kind of figure themselves out and find their stride. And in the NFL, you can't take that time. If it's going to take you 2 months to really gel as an offense, that's too late. You're basically out of the playoff picture. So I think the Bears are a season away. And then the Vikings, I think, will be a little bit scrappy. I would have liked them more with JJ McCarthy. I think with him hurt and Sam Darnold being the quarterback, I'm now a little bit lower on them. So yeah, I'll take the Packers to win the division. Lions get in on a wild card.
I get behind that. I've got the Lions winning the division, and I've got the Packers getting as a wild card, with the Bears being very frisky there, kind of in that same range with like the Rams, if you will. I think also the fact that, like, you brought up a great point there with the Bears. A lot of new pieces. Also a new OC there with Shane Waldron coming over from Seattle. I think the Vikings are going to be terrible. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah is a lousy general manager. I feel really bad for Kevin O'Connell right now, and I wish Sam Darnold the best, but I don't trust him at all.
Agreed.
And let's go to the NFC East.
Yeah, I think the NFC East is pretty straightforward. I don't think there's too many people that would argue that it's going to be either the Cowboys or the Eagles, and then the Commanders and the Giants third and fourth. I'm going to lean a little bit more towards the Eagles. I like Kellen Moore as their offensive coordinator. If the issue with the Eagles last year was their coordinators, they fixed that issue. If the issue is Nick Sirianni, then they're going to have a similar year this year to last year. But I think the Eagles look a lot more like the Eagles from 2 years ago. I think they win the division. I think the Cowboys get into a wild card spot. Yeah, I mean, I think the Cowboys, who knows what happens to them in the regular season or in the playoffs, but in the regular season, they've been a good team. 3 straight years, 12-5. So yeah, I think this is a fairly straightforward division. You can take either the Cowboys or the Eagles, but it's going to be one of those two, and then pick which of the two teams finish third and fourth between the Commanders and the Giants.
That's kind of where I'm at too. I've got the Eagles winning the division. Again, you're right, spot on there with the coordinator upgrade with Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. I think it kind of really shows like the limitations that might be there with Nick Sirianni. Maybe that's why Jalen Hurts isn't all in on that. Cowboys, really talented roster, really meddling owner. I do think the Commanders will be pretty sneaky good there. We'll probably see like the good parts of what we saw with Dan Quinn in Atlanta. Jaden Daniels is a fantastic quarterback, and then the Giants are going to be awful. They're going to draft Carson back next year.
Yeah, Giants are going to stink.
All right, so let's go our 7 playoff teams in the NFC, and then we'll pick our Super Bowl. Down in New Orleans. That'd be cool if we got there.
That'd be very cool. I will go 49ers number 1 seed again. Falcons number 2 seed. Eagles number 3 seed. 4 seed. What division am I missing? Packers number 4 seed, I guess. And then the wild card teams are going to be the Lions, the Cowboys, and the Rams, which is basically the exact same playoff teams last year, except I'm subbing in Atlanta, I suppose. And then I will say, I mean, am I just going to say the Falcons make it to the Super Bowl? I actually do sneakily think the Cowboys might make the Super Bowl.
Ooh, that's sneaky. Yes.
I know the Cowboys choke in the playoffs every single year, but eventually, if you're going to knock on the door this many times, eventually the door is going to open for you. I'm going to say things bounce the Cowboys' way this year, and they finally make it to the Super Bowl.
That'd be great. My boss, Cody Williams, is a Cowboys fan, and that would be good. That'd be good for me. But so I've got this right now. I've got 1 Detroit, 2 Philadelphia, 3 San Francisco, 4 Atlanta, 5 Green Bay, 6 Tampa, 7 Dallas, and then I've got Detroit beating San Francisco to get to New Orleans.
All right. Is it bad that neither of us picked the Falcons on a Falcons podcast?
No, I think, just making the playoffs after 4th and Sark after 7 years would be a lot of fun. Just, baby steps up. I would love to see them get to there. I mean, did you think they were going to win the Super Bowl before 2016? I didn't. That was I thought they were going to be good, but like I didn't see that happening.
Yeah, good point.
And
I don't think we're at the stage with the Falcons right now, and obviously we're going to talk about the Falcons a little bit more, but Yeah. Let me just ask you this right now. In your opinion, what is a successful season for the Falcons? What needs to happen where at the end of it, you feel good? Because I don't think it has to be obviously a Super Bowl appearance. That would be nice, but what needs to happen? Is it just make the playoffs?
Initially, I would say yes, but honestly, we need a home game there in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and we need to win like a playoff game. Like if we get to the divisionals and lose to like the Niners, the Packers, the Lions, someone, that's okay. Like if they're just a better team, that's fine. If we get to the NFC title bout, oh, that'd be amazing because like you're one step away, and then that's going to be able to, you can recruit more like in free agency. Maybe not Tampa this year. That'd be cool. Not lose a draft pick, but
it'd be nice.
It'd be great. But yeah. So who's your Super Bowl pick?
I think Dolphins beat the Cowboys in the Super Bowl. I'll go with the Dolphins. By the way, I'm in the same boat with you in terms of the Falcons' expectations. Win a playoff game, and I'm successful season.
That'd be perfect. I've got the Lions over the Chiefs.
All right. I like it.
I know that was a lot of fun, but we're going to talk a lot more Atlanta Falcons here, just to kind of, prime this. I know you were just on Stacking the Box with Sterling Holmes. Please subscribe to that channel. Check that out. Yes. And we are going to go on to our next segment. This is fun. This is called Blow the Whistle or Blow the Whistle. So what we're going to do here, Ian, so, like when something good happens in Atlanta with the Falcons, you hear like the train whistle. Yep. And when the referees blow the whistle, that's bad. So
right. I like
You're going to answer this question, either blow the whistle or blow the whistle.
Okay.
Were the Matthew Judon and Justin Simmons additions enough on defense to get this team over the top?
I guess it depends on how you would define get over the top. If take the next step is kind of win a playoff game, then I will blow the whistle in terms of the train blow the whistle, because I had been saying all off season up to this point, the Falcons, and this is why, we're going to talk with the Penix pick in a little bit, but this is why I really wanted them to take a pass rusher, because in my opinion, we are a pass rusher away. Now we got that with Matthew Judon. Now we need him to return to the form he was in 2 years ago, not how he played last year would be nice.
Right.
But yeah, he checks the box of a pass rusher. I don't know why it's the case in Atlanta. It's like the Bears are like cursed to never get a great quarterback. We're just cursed to never really get a good pass rusher, or if we do, he lasts one season and then becomes trash. Hopefully Matthew Judon is finally that guy that can rush the passer, because we've been missing that for 2 decades, pretty much, for as long as I've been a Falcons fan. So yeah, I think that's big. Justin Simmons is going to be huge. I mean, our safety duo is now going to be like the best in the NFL. I would have liked. The only other thing I would have liked for us to get would be a second corner. We're going to talk AJ Terrell. I think we're missing that second corner. So if there's one piece missing, I would say it's that. But still, I think it's enough for us. If we define, getting over the hump as winning a playoff game, I think the Judon and Simmons signings are enough.
I would agree. Blow the whistle train as well. You go from having, 3 very notable defenders on the team with Grady Jarrett, Jesse Bates III, and AJ Terrell. You add 2 more, and that's 5 of 6, and that basically opens up other windows for other guys on the team to make plays. Maybe Rukaroro, we're just going to call him Dog because it's too hard to say going forward. It could be other opportunities for other guys to make plays. We saw, Caden Ellis and Nate Landman look good at linebacker and everything like that. You're all right, though. It's been a long time since we've had a pass rusher. I semi-joke that I would cut off my right pinky finger on my dominant hand just to have a pass rush, because I don't really need this. Like, this just hits like the L button. We don't do L's on this show. I can still play guitar. It'd be cool having 9 fingers. I mean, Deion Sanders only has 8 toes, and he's sort of thriving in his own world right there in Colorado. Love you, Prime. But yes, I think that the Judon edition is tremendous. And then obviously having Simmons back there with Bates gives us a really strong secondary. Would have liked another corner back there. I do like what Clark Phillips III is. I think he's in for a pretty good year, second year out of Utah. But again, at this point, we're so close. But maybe this gets us over the top. It's the preseason. We're almost to the season. Got to be optimistic. Got to be positive this time of year.
Yeah, this is the best I've felt about a Falcons team since the year after the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I think. Now, do we have enough to win a Super Bowl? I mean, in theory, yes, because if you get to the playoffs, any team can win the Super Bowl. But This is not a team that I'm looking at that I still think we're a couple pieces away, especially on defense, from being a true Super Bowl contender. But enough to host a playoff game and win a game and, be in the mix? Absolutely.
Yeah, I like teams that don't know that they shouldn't be there, and maybe we could potentially be that. But going to move on to our next topic. Got to look good, feel good, pay good, play good. Talking about contracts, our boy AJ Terrell. You got the AJ Terrell jersey on today. He got paid a lot of money. Yes, the native of College Park down there, same alma mater as Cam Newton. There, played at Clemson. Got drafted by the Falcons, last first-round pick there by Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff. He's solid. I don't know. I mean, it may have been an overpay a little bit, but at the same time, I'm glad that this wasn't like drawn out like we saw with like the Cowboys or God forbid, whatever's going on there in San Francisco with Brandon Ayuk. Just your thoughts on the AJ Terrell mega contract up to this point right now.
Yeah, I like the contract. AJ Terrell, obviously, I have 2 Falcons jerseys. One is AJ Terrell. So I'm an AJ Terrell guy. Now, my issue with AJ Terrell, especially based on this contract, which is a pretty expensive one, is that we need to see the elite version of AJ Terrell more often. I kind of mentioned this earlier with Trevor Lawrence, where we've seen a very high ceiling with him, but we just haven't seen that ceiling enough. Like in a 17-game season, we might see that high ceiling in 3 or 4 games. That's kind of how I feel with AJ Terrell. We've seen his ceiling, and his ceiling is an elite cornerback in the NFL. My issue is we just don't see that ceiling enough. He's a little bit too inconsistent for that price tag. But I mean, he's still relatively young. If he can, show that elite level of cornerback play on a more consistent level, then he's going to be worth that contract, especially with, the amount of other corners that are going to be hitting the market next offseason. So I think right now it looks expensive, but if he can play up to it, and then in 2 years, over the next 2 years, while a ton of other corners get huge contracts, this contract's going to look pretty good. So love AJ Terrell. For this price tag, I need a little bit more consistency from him.
I think that's fair. I think that's, he's never going to be the type of guy that's going to pick the ball off a ton. That's not really his game, and that's okay. We know what he is, but like my thought was like, gosh, what if he played 5 years here, pretty high-end cornerback, and then he goes and signs with like Ryan Nielsen of the Jaguars or reunites with Dan Quinn there in Washington. Now he's on another team and we don't have him. And I think the 2 other parts here is, we were able to extend, Chris Lindstrom. It's kind of keeping the chain going. So next up would be Kyle Pitts, who got the 5th-year option. And also the fact that they're both David Mulligeta clients. I think that has some cachet there within the free agency world. And that's a very predominant agent out there. And if that speaks well for what Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot are building here in Atlanta, then I'm all for that.
Absolutely. Good point.
Yeah, that's perfect. All right. We're going to have a little fun here. We're going to talk some quarterbacks here. We're going to start with you like that, and then we're going to follow it up with some big Penix energy. Obviously, before Kirk Cousins signed with the Falcons, you had the opportunity to interview him and speak about it. And you said, maybe you want to come and do Atlanta. So we got a little clip here, and we're going to play this real quick. And we're going to see this. And it's kind of cool that it's kind of all come forward, but let's kind of react to what's happened in the past year, featuring Iain MacMillan here. Back in the day. Let's go.
There was a team out there that had several positions on offense with young talent. What if I told you they had a top 10 defense this year? What if I told you this team might be a quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender? And what if I told you you might have some kind of personal connection to the city? Maybe, just for example, theoretically, you got married in the city where this team plays. Does that possibly interest you theoretically whatsoever?
That's amazing. I see what you did there. No, it's a my wife is from Atlanta, and I see the Falcons helmet in the background. So
I might have gave myself away with that
we're still it's a lot of stuff is going to happen between now and March, and so I've learned in this league you kind of take it one day at a time, and all these playoff games have to be played, the Super Bowl, the head coaching hires, the staffs shift around, and then the dust kind of settles and people go to the combine and you go from there. So it's a process I've been through before, and we'll be going through it again in a few weeks. But until we get to that point, I'm just kind of like laying low, and just we'll see. Once we get to March, we'll deal with March stuff. And until then, it's like I don't even want to deal with it because so much is going to change.
Yeah, of course. I at least did have to give you my little pitch there. Love to see you there.
That was I mean, as pitches go, that's as good as I've heard in a long time.
Beautiful. I'm still waiting for my check from the Falcons for a recruiting fee.
You should get it, man. Like
I need to talk to Kirk Cousins again and see how much of an impact my pitch made on him signing with the Falcons.
Just curry favor with Josh Blank whenever he takes over the team. That was really cool. I could see us we're both kind of smiling watching that. You know, that happened back in February or March with you, right?
I think January. I think it was
Really?
early January. So yeah, like I said, where's my recruiting fee, Atlanta? Come on.
Yes, I mean,
take a little bit of that to me.
Yeah, we can all use a little bit extra coin there. But yeah, he brought up the point that his wife is from Alpharetta. She went to Georgia with me, same year as me. Didn't cross paths with her, but like, again, he summers here. His family is down here, in-laws here. A lot of people from Atlanta are transplants. My mom is from Columbus, Ohio. My dad's from just outside of New York City, and they've been here since the mid-'80s. So yeah, it seems like from like me being down here in the Southeast, it seems like he just fits. It just seems like he understands this is a big deal. And it just seems like everybody's really happy to have him here after the last 2 years. Shout out Desmond Ridder getting cut there by the Cardinals. Good luck on practice squad, bud.
That's tough. I was a Desmond Ridder believer.
Me too, man. That's the worst part.
Before last year too. So yeah, shout out Desmond Ridder. But yeah, listen, we got Kirk Cousins. That's the guy I wanted heading into the offseason. We're obviously going to talk about Michael Penix Jr., but I wanted Kirk Cousins. I made my pitch. He ended up signing with him. I got a lot riding on this season because it's gone basically exactly how I wanted it to, outside of maybe what happened in the draft, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, you know, it's tempered down a little bit there, but yeah, getting Cousins is huge. He's going to probably play here the next 4 years. He'll start for like at least the next 2. We'll see what happens with the succession plan there in place with Fontenot and Raheem there. But I guess I'll posit this one question about Cousins. He's do you think he can get to the Hall of Fame, like if he plays really well, like in Atlanta for the final third of his career?
I think he probably has to win a Super Bowl, and he probably does need 4 solid years, but it's possible for sure. I mean, people forget last year when he got hurt in Week 8, he was the passing leader in the NFL. So like he was on the verge of his best season yet. So even though he's a little bit older, I think he still might have his best years ahead of him. Kind of like Matthew Stafford has in Los Angeles. So can he get to the Hall of Fame? Yes, absolutely. He probably needs a Super Bowl, just like Matt Stafford needed the Super Bowl and he got it. I think this is actually a very similar situation compared to Matt Stafford when he went to Los Angeles to Kirk coming to Atlanta. So I hope things, work out the same way. Super Bowl would be great. That'd be nice.
That'd be amazing. I also think the fact that he played under Kevin O'Connell, who was the OC with the Rams under Sean McVay. I believe Zach Robinson was the quarterbacks coach there too. So again, it's probably the same system that he's been playing in the last couple of years. Probably made the transition pretty easy. But we're going to transition now to the defining moment here in our Atlanta Falcons fandom in the last calendar year. Yes, Ian and I were on the Stack in the Box draft show. We were watching the first 8 picks. We're on the clock. We're like, please don't take Michael Penix Jr. We already have a quarterback. We love the guy. We love what he's about, but we don't need this. And then we had a meltdown for the ages by Ian, and I was just laughing myself through just the pure shock of the moment. So we got a clip right here. Check this out real quick, and we'll react to that after this.
Oh my God. Producer Joanne, please tell me you're pranking us right now.
This is okay, cool. All right, yeah.
The Atlanta Falcons have selected Michael Penix from Washington. That's a quarterback.
Look, Why
are we taking a quarterback at number 8? I knew the Falcons take the best player available. I didn't think the best player available was Michael Penix. John, what are we doing?
We're the Falcons. This is what we do, man. I will say though, I do like Penix as a person. I loved watching him at UW and everything like that. I'll try to talk you off the ledge. I know I'm not going to be able to do that. This is probably going to
you said
ruin
a couple minutes ago
your
anything but a
entire-
quarterback. I laughed. I said that's not possible. Maybe trade up back into the first round late to take Penix. Maybe if Penix falls to us in the second round, we take him. What are we doing? What are we doing taking Penix, John?
It's the thing that I have an issue with is like he's 24 or he's about to be 24. He tore his ACL twice. I think once at Indiana, maybe in high school or something like that. Has a lot of variance here. But I mean, I never had him higher than like QB5 on my board. Yes, you're just going to give up, aren't you, man? I'm so sorry. This is Falcons football here. This is what we're all about, just finding ways to just completely just be more snake bitten. Unbelievable. I'm cracking up watching that. I don't know what's funnier, you sliding down in the chair or me getting redder by the nanosecond.
I didn't think it was possible that they were going to take a quarterback, and I said it in that clip. My prediction was they were going to take Rome Odunze because of their history of taking just the best player available. I didn't even think taking a quarterback was possible. That was one of the most shocking moments of my life.
It was so strange. I was all in on Dallas Turner. I saw him cost my Georgia Bulldogs a chance at a three-peat there in Atlanta. I was all about him. Kind of shocked that he was still on the board there at 17. And then Rome Odunze, Penix's Washington teammate, went a pick later to the Bears, a team we got to now compete with for playoff spots. But has your opinion on the Penix pick changed a little bit? I know we saw him play a little bit in the Dolphins game, and that's it.
Yeah, listen, I like Penix. I think he's a good core. Actually, I think at some point late in the college football season, I tweeted that I wanted him on the Falcons. So like heading into the offseason is I either want Kirk Cousins or I want Penix. I didn't necessarily want both, but this is what we got. So I like him as a quarterback. There is a way that this can work out for us in the years coming. And it is nice to know if something does happen to Kirk and he gets hurt, then we have, our season's not over. Then we can roll with, with our top 10 pick. But it just, if we're trying to win now, and it based on the moves they made the past couple of weeks, it seems like they're trying to kind of go for it this year. We just had some holes we could have filled with that pick. I like Penix as a quarterback. It still doesn't totally make sense to me why they did it. But there is a world where this works out perfectly. Like Kirk crushes it for the next couple of years. Something happens, slide in Penix, and it's a seamless transition, and then Penix immediately becomes good. Because I think Penix is going to be a good NFL quarterback. The pick still baffles me a little bit. We had other positions that we could have filled. Dallas Turner would have been great.
Yes, you could have had a Quinyon Mitchell there, a quarterback out of Toledo, another position. Terry Arnold out of Alabama. I think he went to the Lions and stuff.
Yeah,
we're sitting there, and we were very thankful that Terry Fonda was able to address some of these issues in the latter part of preseason. But again, you and I are sitting here, Wednesday afternoon, August 28th, saying like, do we really have enough there at cornerback beyond AJ Terrell? And the answer is, I don't think so. And that could be a weakness for this team. That doesn't mean that Penix can't be a great player. That doesn't mean that he's not going to be a good culture fit. But I also think that like the fact that they still kept Heineke around, they're kind of going three quarterbacks here. I think the fact they didn't play in the last two preseason games kind of like, it could be the Vikings. Like you could have JJ McCarthy done, who's more of a project than Penix, and that season's kind of feels lost there for Minnesota. So, again, I'm trying to rationalize the pick more and more. It was crazy, but at least the team's kind of been consistent with that, even though we probably needed a cornerback. That's okay.
Sorry, I had myself muted there for a second.
That's cool.
Think my reaction to the pick was just more shock than anything else. Because like I said, it was the last thing I was expecting. Once I kind of step away from that and I kind of see what their plan is, like I get it. Do I agree with it? Not necessarily, but I at least get it. It was just shocking at the moment. I don't think anyone was predicting they're going to take Penix there in that pick. So, like I said, it could work out. They could look like geniuses. It could also not work out, though. And then they're going to look stupid. So, it's very tough to kind of fully evaluate that pick until, we're not going to find out this season. It's going to be a couple seasons before we find out if that was the right move or not. But, yeah, like you said, I mean, We needed another corner. There were guys there we could have taken with corner. We needed a pass rusher. Like, there were guys at the positions that we needed. Like, it almost made too much sense. Even if we take Roma Dunze, like, we kind of really need a second receiver. Like, there were guys there that would have been perfect fits for us, and we took a quarterback who we're probably not going to see for a couple seasons. So
it is a little strange. I don't think we'll see him this year at all. I would say, like, I almost feel like Heineke might even play above him, just in a weird situation. But, like, again, we want to see incremental progress. He's got a really strong arm. I saw him throw a really tight spiral. Needs a little more touch, but again, he doesn't feel afraid out there. And I kind of like that. He kind of commands the line of scrimmage there. But
yeah, he looks like an NFL quarterback to me from the little, that I've watched here in the preseason. So I like it. It's just kind of frustrating that we're not going to know more than that for 2 years at least. So we'll see.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay. Just, this guy could be fun, but at least, we have some guy for a future, but it's not Desmond Ridder. But we're going to move on to our fifth topic here from Brett Favre's dorm room. Yes, we're going to look at some of the guys who were rookies in this draft class. Penix, maybe not necessarily Braylon Trice, who got hurt, but guys you think that could make an impact on this team this year. Anybody that kind of stands out to you?
I actually don't know if any of them are going to have a big impact this year. Is that a hot take? Is that a bad take? I mean, we had the number 8 pick, and we just talked about it. It's a backup quarterback for us for the future. I don't know if there is going to be a guy that's going to make a huge impact. I am kind of curious. The one that sticks out to me is the 6th round pick out of Illinois, Casey Washington, because of the fact, like I said, we don't really, Darnell Mooney's obviously the number 2 receiver, but there's an opening for another receiver to make an impact. I don't know if it's Ray McLeod. I hope, Darnell Mooney, steps into that role, but outside of Drake London, there is an opening for someone else to make an impact. So I did like what I saw from Casey Washington in the preseason as well. So if I were to pick one guy right now, I think I would go Casey Washington just because of the potential opening at the wide receiver position.
You bring up a great point there. The number 3 spot's wide open, particularly with Rondale Moore going down for the season. Yeah,
right.
I was so mad when that happened. I'm like, gosh, he was so good. And I just like, we're gonna crush the Desmond Ridder trade, and now it's just come up empty for both teams. But yes, I like Casey Washington a lot. Was definitely doing a lot in the preseason. Even though JD Bertrand played at Blessed Trinity up there in Roswell, I feel that like he's I kind of wonder if he's got enough speed there to really make an impact, but I guess he's got a good linebacker core to learn from. Maybe he can make plays, be a good rotational player. My pick to click is Rook or Horhero. Yes, right. Rook, dog. Yes, I just feel that like Clemson's always had really good defensive linemen coming out under Dabo Swinney. Yes, there's the Cleveland Farrells of the world, but there's also the Christian Wilkins of the world. And if we can get also Grady Jarrett, if you're playing next to a guy that you probably connected paths with at some point, if we can just get really good there at defensive tackle, I think it opens up, the pass rush a lot better. But I'm really anxious to see what he's capable of.
Yeah, that's the other guy that I was going to mention. So yeah, but still at the end of the day, like I don't think any of these rookies are going to make a massive impact. I think if any of them do, then that's a cherry on top.
That's totally fine. I was sitting there thinking, like, as the team was going through cut day, there weren't really any major surprises. I kind of felt like everybody who needed to make the team for the most part did, and vice versa. It wasn't as like nebulous as other teams, which I think just shows that Raheem Morris kind of knows what he's got here. He's got some dudes, and we're going to talk some dudes here. Finish the show up. How you feel about that, bud?
Yeah, I think the only surprise in terms of the guys cut, and I don't know why I'm blanking his name, but there was another receiver who I think led the team in receiving yards in the preseason, right? Well, why? Yeah. Remind me of his name. I'm having a brain fart.
Chris Blair. He played in the XFL. Yes. He had that really bad fumble there versus the Dolphins, but he was always getting open. And I thought they were going to go with 6 receivers. They went with 5. And he'll probably go in the practice squad. We'll probably see him at some point. But that guy should be on an NFL team for sure.
Yeah, that was the one that stuck out to me. That was a surprise when I was looking at the 53-man roster. But other than that, I think everything else made sense.
Yeah, me too. We're going to go on to our last segment of the day. We're going to do some guys remembering dudes or dudes remembering birds. Ian and I both picked a pair of Falcons from yesteryear that maybe don't get the love that they should, but were absolutely fun to watch and cheer for. Just reminiscing. Let's start with one of the picks you had on there. Let's go with wide receiver Brian Finneran. What do you want to talk about him about?
Yeah, generally, I mean, both the guys I pick. So if people who are watching or listening don't know, I'm actually Canadian. I'm actually, funny enough, I've never even been to the city of Atlanta, even though I'm a Falcons fan. The way I became a Falcons fan, there's no Canadian NFL team, obviously, like there are, some other sports. So I had Madden 2006, I believe was the video game, and I created a player on superstar mode. And I said, whatever team this fake player gets drafted to will be the team I'll cheer for the rest of my life. And it was the Atlanta Falcons. And I immediately bought all in. So the first season that I was a Falcons fan was 2006. So the 2006 Falcons team holds a special place in my heart. I would in my school, I was in middle school, grade 6 or 7, I would write down their entire depth chart, in my school calendar. I memorized every single player. Brian Finneran to me for a long time was just the guy that's I kept waiting for him to kind of have a breakout year. He had a lot of injury issues, but he to me is an Atlanta Falcon. If you're a Falcons fan, you remember Brian Finneran. He was on the team 99 to 2010. And I just felt like I always wanted just a little bit more. Every year I was oh, look out for Brian Finneran. This is going to be his year. Now he had some solid seasons, but I just when I think of Falcons from that era, Brian Finneran is the one that pops up a lot. And I think he actually follows me on Twitter, which is pretty cool. So shout out Brian Finneran. Yes,
he works in the Atlanta media. He works for 680 The Fan, one of the flagships there. That's where the Braves play on and everything like that. But yeah, I didn't realize he played here that long. But he was a stud. He was kind of the perfect wide receiver between the Andre Rison, Terrence Mathis years when I was really little to eventually what we got to with Roddy White and Julio Jones. Doing some research on him. So he played at Villanova, won the Walter Payton Trophy, so the Heisman at Division II. And I'm sitting there thinking okay, how'd you not go to Division I? He's well, he has an identical twin brother. And even though he got scholarships to go play at Oregon or Oregon State, his brother didn't. So they went to play together. And I always felt with Brian Finneran, he always made the play that you wanted. He was a very team-oriented guy. Reliable. Everybody in the locker room respected him. And that's why he carries so much clout here within Dirty Bird Nation.
Love Brian Finneran. Big Brian Finneran guy. Just a reliable, get a first down, the third receiver, great hands. And he was like you said, he was on the Falcons a long time.
Yes.
Basically his whole career. So shout out Brian Finneran.
Played a little bit there in NFL Europe and a cup of coffee with the Eagles, but pretty much here the whole time.
He played for the Barcelona Dragons. Who could forget? In 1999.
People in Barcelona, apparently.
Correct.
My nominee, okay, I'm a little bit older than you, but Terrence Mathis was my guy. He played wide receiver here from 94 to 2001. A local guy. He played at Reed High School, or Reed the place I hit my first home run as a kid playing travel baseball. So that place has special in my heart. Never got the ball because some kid stole it. So my dad was so mad, but he played at New Mexico. I think he played both basketball and football, went to the Jets, and then came here and had a career year in 94. And again, he was there on the 98 team, huge part of the receiving core, had a great connection there with Chris Chandler. He's coaching now. He coaches at Morehouse College, which is an HBCU university in Atlanta. Really well-liked guy, college football Hall of Famer. He's had a lot of records too. Prior to Roddy White and Julio Jones getting here, he was the guy here for a long time. And I don't know how much you knew about him, but he was certainly one of my favorite players when I was really little.
Yeah, a little bit before my time. Funny, he's second in career 2-point conversions, which is kind of a crazy, I guess not record because he's second, but that's kind of a crazy stat to have. Big charity guy too. Was a Falcons Man of the Year in 1998. So yeah, before my time. So I'm not super familiar with him, but he's a Falcon.
He's a Falcon. He was a dude. And we're going to remember your other dude, which is running back Jarius Norwood. Yes. Loved him. He was great. He was there during a transitional period. Again, he was there when you first became a fan. Yes. Last year of Jim Mora Jr., the Bobby Petrino catastrophe, and then early Smitty years in the late 2000s.
Third round pick in 2006. So his rookie season was my first year following the Falcons. And people forget Jerry Norwood. He was electric. He was like their change of pace back. He was like the number 2 to Warwick Dunn was a starter at that time. His rookie season averaged 6.4 yards per carry. His second season, he averaged 6 yards per carry. His third season, not quite as good, but 5.1. He had a 3-year stretch when he was like the change of pace guy for Atlanta, where he was extremely good. Now he completely fell off. He was bad in 2009, 2010, and then he had played for the Rams for a season. And then he actually went to the CFL, played for the Argonauts and didn't last long there. But there was that first 3-year stretch. Jerry Norwood was fun to watch. 6.4 yards per carry is pretty freaking good for your rookie season. So non-Falcons fans probably don't remember this guy whatsoever. I was a big Jerry Norwood guy. I didn't end up getting one, but I wanted a Jerry Norwood jersey. Like, he was my guy on those teams.
You brought up a great point there. He was kind of the other guy there with Warwick Dunn as his career was winding down. I believe he kind of eventually took over for like the TJ Duckett role, and then that kind of got us to Michael the Burner Turner there. But again, we've almost always had some really good running backs over the years. Even though Todd Gurley was really shot there in 2020, I wished him the best. I would give him my knee if I could, but we got great running backs now. And that's really been one of my favorite parts about following and covering this team is offense for the most part has usually been pretty good. It's been the defense and the coaching and God knows whatever's going on upstairs.
Yeah. Yeah. So don't forget Jerry Norwood.
Jerry Norwood.
He had a time. He was great.
He was a dude, man. And and finally, my last guy that I want to remember is defensive end Patrick Kerney. Yes, when I was looking up his name, if you accidentally put an A there, it's like a serial killer. So don't do that. I got to clear my browser history there. But he played lacrosse at Virginia. He played for George Welsh, a really good college coach there at UVA, iconic. He came here in '99 and kind of became like the other pass rusher, kind of after Chuck Smith there. And he was kind of, again, probably the best pass rusher we had up till when we got John Abraham there. Really solid at about, I think, 60-something, 80 sacks. Played a little bit there for the Seahawks. I think he was Pro Bowler, All-Pro. Definitely part of there with like one of the best players on the defense during the Michael Vick experience, along with Keith Brooking and Ray Buchanan. Just fantastic all-around defensive end. Wish we could have had a guy like that. Wish we could have cloned him, to be honest with you. Just keep bringing out Patrick Kerney.
Yeah, I remember him because, like I said, 2006 was the first year that I was a Falcons guy, and that was his last year in Atlanta. He went to Seattle the year after, and that was the year he was All-Pro, his first year in Seattle. He had 14 and a half sacks. But, yeah, I remember him. Like I said, I remember that 2006 team fondly, and he was part of it.
Definitely had a couple of 10 double-digit sack seasons here in Atlanta. I just think about him with like the 2002 and 2004 season and how much fun those were to follow on when I was in like middle school, when I was in like 6th and 8th grade. So that was absolute. He was a dude, man. This is a lot of fun, dude. I'm glad you came on the program today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I love this last segment that we did because there's nothing better as sports fans to just like name random guys from 20 years ago. It's the best. Yeah,
when I floated this to you, I'm like, oh, we're gonna have a good time with this. Definitely get you back on the program soon. We'll be doing this weekly and everything like that. This was the Blog and Dirty Podcast. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter at the X at Buhler118. You can follow Iain MacMillan at Iain MacBets. So IAIN MACBETS. It's too late in the day. I just spell. Yes. I got it. This is so cool. You want to plug anything there with Sports Illustrated, what you're doing over there?
Yeah, you can find all my written work. I am primarily a betting guy. I did write a Kirk Cousins propaganda piece about why you should bet on him to win MVP that you can read on Sports Illustrated. Also, check out if you are into sports betting, check out the Bacon Bets podcast. I bet on all 272 NFL games. So my week 1 edition of that will be out next week, and Stacking the Box as well. So yeah, you can check all that stuff out. But all my written work's over there in Sports Illustrated. That's perfect. You got any? What's your best bet with the Falcons heading into this season? Anything kind of top of your mind that you really like? I do really like. I just kind of mentioned that Kirk Cousins doing MVP. Should he be the favorite to win MVP? No, but he's like 40-1 at one sports book. So if you want like a dark horse long shot guy, I mean, like I said this earlier, Kirk Cousins was leading the NFL in passing yards when he got hurt last year. Now he's playing in Atlanta behind a top 5 offensive line. Their new offensive coordinator, is just came from Los Angeles. One of the best passing attacks in the NFL. Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson. He's got the weapons. He's got the offensive line. Falcons have the easiest schedule in the NFL. A lot of things are lining up for Kirk Cousins this year. Am I a little biased because I feel like I played a role in recruiting him? Yes. But that is my favorite bet for the Falcons this year is Kirk Cousins to win MVP. It's a bit of a long shot bet, but if you want a long shot bet, I like that. I mean, you could bet the over on their win total in 9.5. I think that's easy, especially based on their schedule. They're already pretty significant favorites to win the division, so not a ton of value there. So either over 9.5 wins or Kirk Cousins to win MVP.
I love it. Yes. I was kind of like, okay, maybe Jared Goff wins MVP, maybe Josh Allen, but honestly, I feel stupid. Let's just go Kirk Cousins. Let's just go all in. Let's just do it.
Let's go. It's time to get excited about our Falcons again, John. It's been too long. I'm sick of winning 7 games.
I know. I'm tired of
this. This is our year. Let's get excited. It's going to be a fun one.
I don't think we're going to have another Arthur 10-7-10 split. I just like Arthur Smith. I just can't do it anymore. Just no, I don't want to lose my mind. Losing a little bit all the time, but that's kind of what we do on this show. Again, follow Iain MacMillan on Twitter. Follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter as well. Like, rate, listen, subscribe, review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere there's podcasts. Be sure to read, leave 5-star reviews. Be sure to read all the work there at Blog and Dirty, Sports Illustrated, and Fansided. And this was the Blog and Dirty podcast.